So that good. Public. Live. Public good. All right, yeah, we're good. Some people will put up comments or whatever. We're good. Okay, I'll be silence my phone and we'll get started. All right. I would like to welcome Jeff Haynes to the Amani Experience podcast.
What's up, Amani? How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you for joining us. We always do a geographical check-in. So tell everyone, where are you located right now?
Yeah, I'm currently in Cedar Park, Texas, which is about 5 minutes north of Austin, Texas.
Wonderful. And where did you grow up?
Grew up in Arizona, so Scottsdale, Phoenix area.
Okay.
Grew up there my whole childhood and went to Arizona State. So I'm a Sun Devil.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so your major was international marketing at Arizona State. How did you end up in Texas from there?
Ooh, great question. I out of college went to work in the event industry with the company called DeWalt, which is a company for Black & Decker. Worked there for a couple of years and then got transferred out of LA to Dallas to manage Home Depots. Was my second gig out of college in Dallas. And then once I got to Dallas in Texas, I never escaped back.
So you've been in LA, Dallas, Texas, Austin, Texas, and the kind of the Phoenix, Scottsdale area. Which area has been your favorite to live in?
It's a great question. Phoenix is still home. So Arizona is still where most of my family and the majority of my friends are. But as far as living, I love Austin. Obviously, I've been in Austin now for 20 years.
Wow.
And fell in love with it. Lived back here when it was a small kind of sleepy college town to what it is today. So love it. It's got a great vibe, great music vibe, high tech. We live in the high tech world with all our different agencies, so that fits well. And it's just very chill, relaxed. It's southern. You got the country charm to it, but it's also big city now. So it's a good blend of all worlds.
Yeah. Out of all the cities in Texas, I used to live in Dallas. Austin is my favorite, so I feel you there.
Good. Yeah,
now,
I don't think I've ever. Oh, go ahead.
No, keep going. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I've never been on a plane or coming back in and mentioned that I live in Austin, Texas, and not had them immediately say that's a great town. I love it. Got a bachelor party there, or my buddy lives there, or I've never heard a negative word about it. So I guess that's a good sign.
For sure. Now, it was great to see you and meet you in person at WeCon a little over a month ago. A lot has changed since then as well. If you were going to summarize yourself in terms of where you are right now in 30 seconds or less, how would you summarize yourself?
It feels like the exact opposite of where I was when I met you at WeCon. But we're, as far as overall business, we live in the live event business and event, and then also experiential world is our main kind of where we hang out, where we live, where we do business. So live in that space, and we believe 100% in human-to-human connection and how important that is in today's world. So it's definitely rocked our world, to say the least. That the thing we believe in most has been put persona non grata, so we can't go after it. We can't do it. We're not allowed to do it, and so we're adapting and changing just like everyone else in the world and figuring out what our next move is.
How are you adapting? First question, and then what are you doing to kind of continue to stay motivating? Because some situation like this can really be demotivating for people, and they can just kind of tap out at sometimes. So what are you doing to conquer that?
Yeah. So we have a full-time staff here in the States of 45. So it's been interesting watching everyone kind of evolve and deal with this differently. So that's been one kind of interesting part. And then we also have offices and event teams that are in countries all around the world. And so when this started happening, our first call to action was to draw everyone back home as quickly as we could. And then obviously start rescheduling and shuffling events and doing stuff. But what the biggest change, and I think the big fundamental thing that's got us excited about this now, not excited for what the world's dealing with, but excited for us as a company that it's kind of awakened us and put us on notice, and made us look at the business in multiple ways versus so linearly that of where we were before. So before it was one world condition. I'm actually looking up at a spreadsheet right now that's on our board that now labels the world as having 3 conditions, and we're now making business plans and events have to live within the three different conditions. So
interesting. Are you able to share what the conditions are?
Yep, I'll read them off my board here. It's condition number 1 is 100% lockdown, which is where we're at now. Condition number 2 is not lockdown, but travel severely restricted. And then condition number 3 is business as usual. And so we're with those 3, what we're calling them new world orders. We feel that that's going to be a come and go. It'll eventually go away, and we'll adapt between each of those 3 new orders, but we don't know when and how and when it will come back. And so now we're putting business and contingency plans on everything, assuming we'll shift in and out of those different levels.
I know you have a lot of focus on live events and kind of experiential events. Have you seen anything in the past week or so that has caught your eye to be like, maybe we should try that?
Not really. You're seeing, obviously, just like everyone else, is the Zoom world and the different online meeting spaces grow up and get more robust, and people are learning them. And our teams, we tasked our entire event team that's been doing a 2-week deep dive and study into all the online platforms and how to use them and how to make them useful for meetings and events. So we're tackling that, but we haven't really seen anything. Virtual's tough. Virtual is a tough space to be. Virtual was always viewed in our world because we believe and love live events and believe you need that true human connection to really make a difference. But now that we're embracing or having to embrace virtual more, certain things work in virtual and certain things just don't. Like I think I was watching an online virtual concert where everyone was doing for their homes. And while it was interesting and kind of cool to see, at least for me and for the team, we quickly became disengaged because part of the reason you go to music, and especially music, is to feel.
Wait for Jeff to come back.
You're in it, and you're part of the festival or the music experience, and you felt a little cold and distant. So we've been checking out stuff and we've been doing stuff, but we haven't found anything from that we've seen so far that we're like, whoa, this is game changing. This is really gonna change when things come back. Although I will say our team has really done a good job of driving forward to find how do I explain it? Like ways to engage at the human level, even though you're on a Zoom conference or digitally or in a virtual space, so that people leave there excited, engaged, all the above. Looks like I keep freezing on you here.
Yeah, but your audio is still good, so we'll just kind of roll with that, and as you get the video going, we'll work with that too. In your opinion, what's important for a creative professional such as yourself or myself to succeed in today's business environment?
Hold on one second, Lonnie. I'm frozen, so I can't hear you. So let me let's hope it unfreezes here. Hold on one sec. Welcome to the virtual world.
Exactly, 101. For sure. That's a little better. And then,
can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're still kind of frozen. There's any, like, do you have any other apps open or anything that could be taking some bandwidth, anything like that?
Yeah, Amani, can you hear me? Can you? I can't hear you. You've gone dark on me. So sorry about that. I got a great signal. It feels like we've been dealing that all day with all our different video chats of stuff freezing up. So
yeah. Can you still hear me here or no? No. Let's see here. Maybe Jeff will come back. We'll wait for Jeff to come back. So let's see here.
Hey.
Okay. We'll see if that works a
hear
little
you.
better.
Yeah.
You can?
Sorry about
Okay,
that.
can you see me?
Yep, I can see you and I can hear you now. I'm not frozen. I had full bars, but don't know what happened.
Yeah. Okay, we'll keep rolling with it. No worries. Let's see here. Another thing that works well is if you have any apps that are open, sometimes those hog the bandwidth too. So it's also an idea as well.
Yeah. The apps are shut down. All right, we're good.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay. So I was asking, in your opinion, what's important for creative professionals such as yourself or myself to succeed in today's business environment?
Just probably like what everyone's saying is adaptability. I've been saying that for years now, that everything's changing so quickly that if you can't learn, unlearn, and relearn on the spot in real time, it'll be hard to be successful in today's world. And I think we're being shown that today. It's just literally we'll make plans and an hour later we're back together as a team of like, well, that didn't work. They just made they made restriction here, or you can't do events. Like when we have live event venues. And so as we were triaging, as it felt like the world was going on lockdown, we started adjusting events and which events got canceled, which didn't. Well, then literally an hour after we make a decision, news would come out and say you can only gather and 10 people or less. Well, then that shifted it again. Or we'll move stuff to a virtual setting and say, okay, we'll just go virtual with it. We'll do the event virtually. Well, you can't even have people leave their houses to come to a virtual center to broadcast out to the world. And so, I mean, it's stuff that everyone's been dealing with. But I think what it's shown us is, in order to be successful, you have to be adaptable and be willing to change and actually be willing to make some pretty bold, quick moves. Because if you sit back and wait for things to come back, I don't think they're coming back as we once knew them. And I think the industry and the business will have pivoted fast enough out of this that if you're sitting back just waiting for the old times to come back, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Looking at your career, you've done a variety of really interesting jobs and had a lot of experience. What would you consider to be the turning point in your career?
Turning point for me is when I decided to, I'd always been an entrepreneur and started stuff, but I think it's when I cut the cord and gave myself no outs whatsoever. That really was the turning point that kind of shifted and put me to, the spot and the position our company's in now. So I think I'd always try to be an entrepreneur, but also keep a corporate gig on the side. And burn the midnight oil, which you have to do at the start anyways, right? You got to build up and do that at the start. But I found myself I'd started 3 or 4 different companies, and some with the success that I'd sold, and some that I just kind of backburnered. But I felt like until I really put myself, on notice, I think that's when that happened, everything completely turned around, and it's amazing what you'll get done when you have no options. So
how did you gain the courage to cut the cord?
It's a good question. Lack of patience. I ran out of patience, right? I ran out of having to deal with the corporate life, and then try and do stuff on the side was really taxing, and I was running out of cycles. I think at that time I was probably mid to late 30s. So it was getting tougher to, put in a 60, 70 hour agency work life and then put another 40 or 50 on the back end of your own hustle. Did that for 10 years and was starting to get like, okay, I can't keep this up. I need to shift that passion and that workload over to my own vision and start really. Once I made that decision, I think people realized that, and it started attracting the right talent over to Haute Companies. When they saw that shift and that I was all in, they saw the passion there, they all started to fold in. And so I think that was kind of that when other people in the outside world, including clients and potential employees, which are now current employees, and partners and business partners, saw it happen, they immediately jumped and said, all right, if you're going to do it, we're in, we'll make a run at this as well. So I think that was the huge turning point, which I'd recommend to everyone. And not everyone is in the position to do it. I technically wasn't in the position to do it either. I have a young family, and it's probably one of the most expensive times in our lives, as far as just keeping up with the life that we created. But I think that's where it drew the line in the sand, literally brought the entire family together and said, hey, we're going to make a run at this. This could end in disaster, where we move and it uproots and changes our entire life and the way we look at things. Or this could hit me success and we have fun and we're all in this together, but everyone needs to agree that they're in it. And so I think that's important too, of communicating that, saying, hey, here's what could happen, here's what probably will happen, and here's if we get lucky and all things hit, here's the upside. We all have to choose that we're in this and could risk everything. And so I think when the family all leaned in, all at that time they were, early teen years. And so it was interesting to see them saying, hey, things are going to change. We're not going on vacations for 2 or 3 years. We're not doing this. Your whole life is going to be put on hold while we go do this. And that's the realities of actually doing it. Of you put everything on the line, you put everything on hold until you get back to a place to where you feel like you've gotten comfortable again. So
yeah, definitely. How long ago was it that you decided to cut the cord?
It was 4 years ago, and then started a company with a couple buddies in Seattle, great company called Juice Marketing, which is still around. Actually had a conference call with them last night, but started that up, ran with them for about 1.5 years. And we split the company off. I wanted to go a little bit more technology based and event based, and they wanted to stay more in the lane they were in, which is more products and merchandise and marketing. And so we decided to keep that in Seattle, which is where it was headquartered. And then I kind of split off and started Haute Companies here in Austin, Texas. So, and that happened we're just over 3 years with Haute Companies.
Got it. And if you met, say, a younger entrepreneur who was kind of doing what you were doing in the past, we were trying to juggle both, and you were going to give them maybe one piece of advice, what advice would you share with them?
Cut the cord sooner than you're comfortable with. You gotta, like, I know other people say that. A lot of people say you gotta hustle and you gotta do that. That's just kind of basic common sense. You gotta work hard and you gotta get something lined up before you do jump and feel confident, have enough knowledge to be able to do it. But if you wait too long, you got more to risk and it's harder to do. Each year that goes by, it's harder and harder to make that jump, because you create more and you create this bubble that you got to keep afloat and keep it. So if you do it when you're younger, not as much to lose, but you've learned enough. So a lot of, I think, when I talk and I go talk with young college kids or even high school kids, and they get a little bit enamored with, oh, you're an entrepreneur and you own concert venues, do this. I was like, well, hold on a second. This is this is very rare that a success, but I also put, 20 years of 80 to 90 hour work weeks to get here. I go, you can jump when you're young because you have less to lose and you can take risk and you can fail that way, but you have to expect to fail, especially if you do it young, 10 to 15 to 20 times. before you hit where you do. And as you go deeper in your career and you learn more, it gets harder to do, but your odds of making it increase, but they're still, 10% at best.
Right.
Of hitting and making it. So you still have that risk, but then you're risking a lot in return. So you got to find that happy medium. But I would say I waited probably 5 or 6 years too long. And I think some people in today's world, because it's a little bit romanticized of what it's like to be an entrepreneur and what happens when you do it. I think some jump too early. So you got to find that sweet spot, which to me is depending on how long you go to college, or if you go to college, and how long you're in the workforce. But I think that, your late 20s, early 30s is that sweet spot to where you've learned enough on someone else's dime. You've seen the world, you've taken enough knowledge in that you can spin it and be successful coming out of that. I just think it's lightning in a bottle to try and do it right out of high school or college. Because you just haven't learned enough or seen enough to know. There's so many ways to get burned in the process, and you probably will get burned, and it's going to be hard to find that fire in a bottle. So I would say go learn, go work for people, go work in multiple industries, do stuff you like, learn some more, and then jump with whatever your passion or what you believe your idea is that's different, that's going to change the market or make the market better, and then run at that. So
yeah. Speaking of passion, why do you love what you do?
I love what I do because it's something different every single day. And people, I always say, my big thing around the company is I say it at the end of most meetings and emails is I believe. And that basically means I believe in people. I believe in what we're doing. I believe in our cause. People are responding. Customers are responding. All of our different event attendees are responding and kind of feeling that belief in the human experience, and in every little part does matter and should matter, that you get limited time in this world. So whether it be, how we're creating office environments or concert experiences or corporate event experiences, we think through everything and we make sure that that person has limited time. They may be nervous or shy or introverted to come here. How do we make them feel welcome, as well as the people that are excited and extroverted? So how do we basically, our team would call it hug everyone in a virtual sense, but how do you make everyone feel comfortable as though they found home, whether they're walking into a 10,000 person conference or a 2,000 person concert event, or just a small brainstorming session with 15 or 20 people. For the most part, people are a little bit leery unless you're crazy. Now there are those people that are crazy outgoing and extroverted, and I always say give them a drink and some people and they're happy. They're somewhat of the easy ones to, you want them at your event because you need that energy there. But a big bulk of your event, which I think people forget about, is you have introverted people, you have nervous people, you have people that aren't excited about going to mingle with 100 strangers, or go to a concert with 2,000 strangers. They're excited about the music, they love music, but they're a little bit timid and one. And so we try and take those people and all the experiences we do. We say, what is what are the half of the crowd that's hugely introverted? What are they thinking right now? How are we engaging? How do they leave motivated and inspired and actually have energy than it draining the energy from them? So I think I know it's a very long-winded answer, but I think that's what gets me excited, is because the team has no rules, no parameters. It's all about that experience, but we live it and believe it. And, we have companies that are responsible for creating experiences, and we do that on purpose so that we can learn from that and kind of learn on our own dime, so to speak, and then infuse that learning back to our customer events and our customer engagements. So we learn on the job and adapt and change, and then infuse what we learned immediately in real time over to our actual corporate clients that are hiring us to do their customer engagements.
Got it. And then on the flip side, what is something that scares you?
It always scares you. I guess if any project you go into, it scares you of creating something that people just don't respond to, right? Because you could do that, and I guess that goes back to less in today's world, but from an entrepreneurial standpoint, is I've done companies or creative companies or experiences or products that I thought would change the world or that were the greatest thing ever, and people just didn't respond to them in the mass that they needed to make it a success. So that still scares you, and that still kind of haunts you at the back of your mind of like, we're going to put all this work in, we're going to blood, sweat, and tears for 3-4 weeks on an event, and then another 3 months to execute on it, and people just may not show, or people just may not respond to it. And so I think you have to be okay with that fear, and know that it's healthy and that it should be there. And it will get reinforced. We're reminded all the time of when you do we have concerts all the time where just no one shows, right? I'd say no one. It's a small. We're expecting
Right.
2,000 people and 400 show up, and we're like, where did we miss? Go unravel. Was it the band? Was it the time of day? Was it the marketing? Was it the communication? Was something else in competition? We try and constantly learn from that, but it does hurt, right? It does hurt and sting a little bit when you put all that time and effort. If you have a big conference where you expect 20,000 people and only 6,000 show up, right? That is your fear, and kind of what haunts you all around from a business standpoint.
Got it. Now, the events industry is very crowded. What do you do, and how do you rise above all the noise and distinguish yourself from the competition?
It's a great question. We focus on, like I said, human to human and small events. And that's how we kind of separate ourselves from competition. So we're not out from an event side of things battling with, we say, the big boys that are doing, the large, 10,000 to, 50,000, event conferences. It's not our space. Our space is more intimate. We have teams that go around and travel around the world, that we bring events into our clients' customers, let's say, right? Mm-hmm. And so we believe in that as the world becomes busier and more digitally engaged and distracted at the same time, that if we can go into their environment and actually bring the show to them, it really works. People respond. It actually works way better than forcing a large group of people to a big conference. If we can go and engage at them human to human in a smaller setting, in their setting, and we show that we care, that our clients care enough to go and put that effort in, that's where we see changing the game. And that sales enablement, smaller events, more human, more tactical, and more nimble is our space. And we feel like we are the best in that space, and that we own that space, which puts us ahead of everyone. Now, we partner with other event agencies that do those larger events, and we'll come in and do little strategic kind of parts of it that are smaller engagements, but we don't have an interest, nor is it even in our company DNA or profile to just go do events and go do big events. It all starts with, what are you trying to accomplish? And does it fit within our what we refer to as sales enablement side of things? So we believe heavily that events should enable sales to go do their job and close sales. Otherwise, events, are ego driven, and they're just there to kind of for it to be seen. We're like, hey, we're not really about being seen. We're not really about those Instagrammable moments. We're about creating events and engagements that help the sales reps engage. Because if they don't have a way to engage in a story to tell, at the customer level, all those events are not, and all those leads just kind of disappear and go away. So, we live in a very specific, small, help sales tell stories and engage customers through events and experiences. And we believe that's where the most difference can be made with events. And so that's where we stay. And so I think that makes us unique, and hopefully rise above some of the competition. And we view it less as competition, because there's very few people in the space and what we do in terms of events in that way. And we like that. And so that allows us to be nice and play nice with all the other event agencies. I'm friends, obviously, with a lot of event agencies, presidents and CEOs. We talk and we go back and forth with how we improve and do this and that. So it's very kumbaya, because they know we live in a very specific space and have no plans of leaving that space.
What's been maybe a memorable time when you've brought an event or a smaller experience into a company and they were like wowed and just completely floored?
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. Like we have quotes from whether it be Google execs or Dell execs. A great quote from a Google exec was afterwards like, I've been doing this 20 years and I've never seen people this engaged at an event that we've thrown. And he's like, how did you do it? I was like, I was talking to him. I was like, hey, it's great. I really appreciate that. But it's the little things. It's where we position the stage, how we greeted people, how we made them feel. Everything was set up to make it feel warm and welcoming. And really, we would go back to, we focused on the introvert. And by focusing on the introvert, the extroverts were still in front of the product and asking questions just like they always were. Where the difference was is when you swing that second half of people over and engage, they're sitting back like, whoa, what is happening here? Why is there so much engagement? And it's like, we just focused on the introvert. We focused on making them feel at home and ways to engage with the product on their own time instead of being thrown in it. And so I think that's where, we hear it time and time again of like, wow, that felt good. Well, you felt good because we let you engage at your own pace and made you feel comfortable during every part of the engagement cycle. And that comes from the way we've been hire and train our brand ambassadors. And because they're specifically trained, we always say, even whether you come to our concert or a corporate event, imagine this is someone coming to your own home and you're inviting them in and you're the host. That's the way you level set, and we go and start at that. That is our starting point for everything we do across the board of you're inviting someone to your home. And I always give an example. We've all been to homes that you either feel comfortable or you don't feel comfortable, right? We all have friends. We won't name names.
No, we won't.
And we've probably forgotten what those homes were like. It's been so long since we've all been on lockdown. But you have those homes that you walk into and you just immediately are like, this feels right. This feels good. You want to kick off your shoes and grab a drink and hang out, and you could hang out and you could lose track of time. And you're like, oh crap, sorry, it's been 4 hours. We should probably get out of here. And then those places that you walk into, and this could be a home or a restaurant or a venue or whatever, but where you just don't feel at home and you feel a little bit like you're intruding on their life or on what they're doing. And I think events in the past has had a habit of setting that up to feel like you're almost intruding on what they've created instead of inviting them in. And so just that little bit of mind shift in everything we do, it makes a huge difference. And then people ask like, how'd you do it? I was like, it's hard to explain. It's like, how do you explain a house that you walk into and it feels warm and welcoming? There's a million little things that were done. And a lot of times in a unconscious way, that makes that person feel home because that's how you're created. So I think that's we call it the secret sauce or the sprinkle dust of magic dust of how did you do it or why your event special. I would say it's the 100 things we do. And if you look at our brand ambassador, there's not one person that you meet at one of our events that doesn't welcome you and engage you and ask questions and enter you in. And that's lost. Our team goes, for an example, South by, I know it was canceled last year, but the year before, we always send our entire events and engagement team out to South by. And their job is obviously to go to engagement after engagement and take notes of what was a great engagement, what made them feel great. And time again, they would come back and say, there was some really beautiful stuff and some well thought out agency engagements and brand engagements, but 95% of the people missed on the one thing, the human side. No one was there to engage us, to greet us like a human being and walk us through and help us connect with their brand in that human way. And for that, those were the majority of the notes that always come back. And I said, okay, take notice of that. We have to take that and be the leaders to, we always say the human trumps all else. Meaning if you can engage someone at a human level, it will trump is the fanciest. You could spend $1 million on one display and it is the most beautiful, amazing creation. If you don't engage that person or build it in a way to engage, you should have saved the $1 million and spend it elsewhere. And so, and another topic that throws me on another tangent of how quick companies were to pull back on South by and other events. And you didn't feel the pain. You didn't feel them like, oh, this is going to hurt, but we got to cancel South by. They're like, meh. Talking to the marketing leaders out there, like, no, we're going to cancel South by. We think it's going to cancel anyways. And you saw people pull out, but it wasn't like this triage scene of like, what are we going to do? Now, South by as an organization was saying, what are we going to do? But there weren't a ton of meetings of like, we're dead in the water if we can't go to South by, which I think kind of put the event industry and festivals and all the engagements out there on notice, saying, hey, we got to change a little bit to where it's painful. When these companies decide, when a Facebook decides upon a South by, it should be one of the hardest decisions they make all year of the way it impacts their business and what it's going to do for them. Not like, it's fine, drop out, we're not going to take the risk, and we'll see if it happens later or we'll do it next year. That's got to go to it. It's kind of on us as creating festivals and of the event industries that we got to rethink it of like, what do we need to do differently that brands are like, no, that's the last budget, that's the last thing we're going to do.
Yeah.
Because we absolutely need that. And I think that's what we've been, as we draw out the new business norm, that's at the top of every screen is like, we cannot have a model that is so easy to not do and to dump and to move on. If we don't switch that, we're going to be dead. It's just a matter of time till we're dead in the water, right? And so this was kind of our big hip check, like I said, and our big kind of put on notice of like, hey, you weren't integrating your business from a digital virtual world to an in-person world in the in-betweens. We were just looking at the in-person of like, that was a miss. And I think a lot of the virtual companies were just looking at virtual. And granted, they're surviving and thriving during this time, but it'll swing back to where we're in person and people will crave it more than ever. But when we go back, it's like, we don't go back to where we were. We have a hybrid blend. We have to engage at a human level, from virtual and online to in person, and we have to bridge that gap. And that has to be top of mind. And I think once you start bridging that gap, you'll see the event industry get stronger and become harder to discard, because you got to connect while you're there in a physical space from a corporate side of things back to the digital space.
Yeah.
Because you can do all the digital in the world. If you don't connect at a human level or make it personal to them, it matters. You can do all the events in the world and make it personal, but if you don't connect back to them in a business side of things, then it's all for naught. And so I think the magic is now going to live, and everyone's going to see that in that connecting point of in between virtual and real world, of how do you connect the two so it causes action, consumer action and corporate action to that path of purchase or to that brand loyalty. You have to connect the two worlds together.
Got it. I'm curious. We'll have to have a sidebar about what your thoughts were on WeCon, because we put a lot of time and effort into that as well. So that'd be an interesting sidebar.
Yes, we shall sidebar.
How has a failure or an apparent failure set you up for later success? Do you have a favorite failure of yours?
Well, yeah, it's most obvious and newest one, most relevant one is we just put on our first music festival. And it's well known in the music world, music festivals are not profitable. It takes 3 to 5 years to make music festivals profitable. And so in that regard, we went into it because we're a little bit bold in believing like, hey, we understand events, we understand music, we put on concerts, we're going to mash the two together and put on our first music festival. We're in the music capital of the world. We can do this. We found what we thought was a great weekend. We actually great lineup, and in all intents and purposes, we had a great turnout. If I had $1 for every time someone stopped me after the show and said that was the best music festival I've ever been to in my life, and once again, I don't know why, but it was awesome. I could sit down with them and give them the 10 reasons why and the work put into it to make it that way. So that was a huge success, and it's probably one of our biggest successes. We pulled off from the time we said we're going to do this music festival to the time the music festival launched was exactly 2 months, which once again was unheard of to pull it off that quick. So we had 14 bands, 2 12-hour days, a typical huge music festival with the stage and multiple stages going. And we pulled it off, and it was our first music festival. So that was a huge success, but it was also a financial failure if you looked at it in the true business sense of it was a huge investment, and obviously you lose a lot of money on that first year festival. So it's kind of a weird kind of like, we learned from it, and that part didn't feel good. And that part stings, and you kind of like, hey, we got to learn from this. We got to bounce back. We're going to do this, and we are taking those learnings. So I think that's probably one of my the most I've learned too, because you learn so much from it of what to do, what not to do, to how make it financially successful. But at the same time, it was such a huge success to the people that attended that will set it on its ultimate path to success, that it ended up being, let's just put it this way. I was still smiling as the last song was played, knowing in the future what this will build on, all on the inside with a little twinge of like, that's going to hurt a little bit. It's going to hurt the pocketbook. Right. And hurt from a financial sense, and trying to be brave enough to muscle and muster through that when that punch is coming at the end of it, and then having to deal with everyone like, oh my God, there's so many people here, you must be killing it. Like, yeah, we're killing it, it's great. And in your mind, I'm like, nope, no, we are not. So anyways, that's probably the most recent one.
Okay. Now you have achieved a lot of success, awards, press mentions. How do you handle your critics, or the haters, as we call them? We don't acknowledge them. I think we're probably haters on ourselves more than others in the outside world. I think others in the outside world think of us as a little bit crazy, a little idealistic, naive sometimes, which
which I think we'll take every day of the week because we are all those things. But we also believe in something. And so, when you get a little bit of like, well, that was stupid, you shouldn't have done that, or like that was a miss. I was like, you know what, but we tried. And our team knows, and our clients know too, of like, if you're in that space to be safe and to check the box, you are not going to like us. You're not going to like our events. You're not going to like us as your agency. We are going to butt heads because we are constantly going to push. We are going to fail big or have huge success. And so when we fail big, you hear about it, and you'll hear those critics. But I just look at the team of like, yeah, but think about what we just learned, and we swung for it. And granted, we missed, but the client was okay with it. They pushed us to do that, and we're already pivoting out of that. Because you know what, people, I always, in the office, we always talk about this too. Like in your lifetime, you don't remember the mundane. So you don't remember 90. When it comes down to it, you don't remember 90% of your life. As sad as that sounds, you just don't. You remember the peaks and valleys with a little bit of minutia in between, right?
Right.
And so I tell people, how many events have you gone to that you literally hundreds, and can you remember what it was about? But those ones that moved you, that was like life-changing and game-changing, you remember those, and that made you move. I go, and also the failures you still remember, right? You remember that, oh, that was a chaotic mess. Remember that, but remember how we adapted out of it and afterwards. I go, so that's what you remember, and that's what we always tell our clients, like, listen, you fail big or win big, you'll be remembered. You just meet in the middle and you do what everyone else is doing. You're only guaranteed one thing, is you're only guaranteed to be forgotten. Granted, you can go back to your management and say, yeah, we did what we were supposed to do, and here you go. But who cares in the long run? No one's going to remember that. And once again, life's too short to live in that space, and we just don't believe in that space and don't live in that space. And so, critics love that about us because we make some big failures. And nothing bonds like a common enemy, right?
Right.
And I think that's where you see the world kind of coming together here. And I think we'll come out of this. Obviously, everyone's saying it will come out of it stronger. But the reason why we'll come out of it stronger is because we all have a common enemy, and a common bond, which bonds way tighter than a common friend. And so you just have to be careful of that, right? It's easy to get a bunch of people saying like, you're crazy, this is never going to work, you should do this or do that. Like, okay, but as long as we stay true to that disruptive behavior and believing in the human connection and believing that, hey, if nothing else, you'll remember us. You'll remember Hot Mess Fest. That was the name of the music fest, is Hot Mess Fest, and you will remember it if you came to it because of what we did and the risks we took. And for that we're happy with, and same thing with all of our events. So haters are out there. We don't pay much attention to them because we put out a lot of good and a lot of good mojo in the world, and we take a lot of chances, and we believe in a lot of people, and we've invested a lot of money into even the event space and the event world in which we live in, to embrace it and do different things in it, and to empower everyone and event professionals to kind of come together. And I think that gives us a little bit more street cred to say, hey, we're believing it, we're putting our money behind it, and we're moving forward in this direction, love it or hate it.
Good. Since you spoke about peaks and valleys, tell us about the darkest time in your life, how you got through that, and what did you learn from that experience?
That's interesting. That's a deep one, Amani.
We try to get deep here.
It did. You should, because otherwise people won't watch it. It's a great question. Such a great question. I guess it's, once again, it's how you look at life of opportunity or not opportunity. I grew up, my dad left when I was probably 9 or 10, and my brother and sister were early teens. Just basically disappeared out of life to never go out. We were raised with a single mom school teacher, but every day she woke up is this is a new opportunity for us. This is something new. And so it was what it could be viewed, and I guess was a dark time of change, of having everything in life and life going exactly as planned to being blown up to nothing being the same, and losing your dad, and your mom goes off to work and you don't see her, and you kind of lose both sides of it. But seeing the way she handled it, and challenged us to keep doing and keep going and keep being crazy and keep testing the limits, and not draw back. She took a challenge and surged forward with it. and used it to better us and herself. And I think that's the part, from a dark time of what considers, really dark places, is so much excitement and so much opportunity came for that. And I keep telling the team of this, we're in a dark place right now, right? The world is in a dark, uncharted territory. We still don't know, is this going to, put us into a depression, a recession? Are we going to bounce back quick out of this? We still don't really know. Indicators will kind of lean us one way, but it's also dark and can be depressing. But so much bright light is coming out of this. And I think there's two ways to look at it. I almost feel bad when someone says, how are you doing in this time? And I want to say, I'm doing fantastic. This is amazing time. Like, we're seeing history unfold and we're seeing people adapt. And then other people, I think, see it as like, this is chaotic and this is a mess. And I guess it depends on what part of this is you're in, right? If you're in the medical side and you're in this chaos, I would say, yeah, you probably have a different take on it. But I still think there's time of like, we're going to learn so much out of this. This won't happen to us again. If we're smart and embrace this, we won't let this happen to us, both on the business side and the health side, and kind of how we're prepared for this. We've learned from this, right? And history tells us we learn and we adapt and we become stronger. And so that part of seeing everyone of like, hey, we're about to go probably, as they say, the darkest next 2 to 3 weeks will probably be the darkest time, especially here in America and even probably globally in this pandemic. But at the same time, as we come out of it, it's an exciting time to change and to grow. And you just see people getting connected. I see employees interacting and talking to each other in ways they've never talked to each other. I see families re-engaged. I'm re-engaged with the family like I haven't been in 10 years. And so we're embracing that. I feel like it's maybe just me, but the sky's brighter. There's less pollution. The stars are brighter. Like, it feels like everyone's been put on notice of like, hey, we need to rethink. And I don't think it's just the event industry that needs to rethink and come out of this excited and energized. It's industry. It's all of industry. It's all of the world of like, hey, maybe everything we're doing in the past and the pace we were running at wasn't the right way to look at the world. And maybe we were given this chance and this kind of way to step back, watch history unfold in front of us, and we get to make changes and do things differently, which I honestly 100% believe, both on a social side of things and a business side of things, will happen. And so for that part, while it's dark and you could kind of be dragged into that as you read stuff, as you get into it, there's also so much light, so many great stories, so much good happening from it, that, I really do think we'll rebound out of this stronger than ever, and people will appreciate each other more. People will be wanting to get re-engaged and meet up and do events and stuff. And so for us, while it's a dark time and we have compassion for that and we're following along and helping in any way we can, there's also excitement and encouragement of what is not only currently happening, what will happen, but the potential to make the changes that were needed to happen, that we would have just kind of kept pushing along for another 10 years and said, we're too busy. Well, times are great. Like, we'll worry about that. We'll worry about that later. Times are not great now. And we're forced to worry about it now, which is making us, stronger. Like when I'm talking to banks, just like all business owners are, and how are you going to get out of this? I am bold with them saying, no, you should bet on us more than ever. We're going to come out of this so strong, and we're pivoting. We just were exposed in our weak spots, and we are quickly rebuilding those. And we're going to come out of this bigger and stronger and better than ever. And they're responding to that message too. And I think more business owners need to be more vocal and open about that. To like, yeah, this exposed weaknesses in a big way, but we embrace those weaknesses and we're fixing them, and we're all going to come out stronger. And if everyone started kind of getting that message out into the business world and the event world, you'd see everyone kind of calm down a little bit, especially just from an economic fiscal side of things. Like, everyone calm down. We'll come out of this, just, take this time to fix and get stronger so that we all come out of this better for it, which I feel 100% we will.
Gotcha. Who was the most influential person for you growing up?
I think I probably already took my hat on this one.
You did.
Yeah. But it's definitely my mom. I mean, it's funny coming from, like I said, if she had her dark moment and hip check, and it's all how you respond to that, right? No one's life is perfect. We always say those are first world problems. My response back to that always is, but they're still problems. And so a problem's a problem no matter where you live or what, what social economic class you're in. Problems are universal. And some are more severe and more just, human and just to survive to just humans, but it still affects people the same way. And I think from her, I learned, don't worry about something twice. Never worry about something you can't change. And she also would say, if time and money can fix it, it's not a real problem. And so
I like that.
she would live and breathe this, and she had every reason in the world, every reason to kind of sit back and say, woe is me. I'm a young single mom of three kids that are in every sport and every activity known to man. How am I going to manage this and support them? But she saw it once again as an opportunity and excitement. And we still got to, pack up the minivan and travel and ski in unsafe, weird areas and keep pushing and drive places that no one else was driving to do experiences that no one else was experiencing, because she felt it was her chance now to go live and to show us, how to act. And I think that's probably why she's been my biggest influence, because I feel like in life, you see it throughout. Every time someone's like, man, they had a rough go of it, but look at them. They're so positive and they're coming out of this. But you also see people had everything given to them and they're miserable and they just have a horrible outlook. And so I think that's a taught, try and teach from a company standpoint too, is that you try to lead and you try and show people, but you lead with positivity and excitement and, what if, why not? You always gotta have something to believe in and something to dream about. And I think that's what she taught, is keep your dreams alive, always have something, to dream about and dream for, and you're always, be happy and have a better outlook.
Cool. Now, what do you find easy to do that your friends find hard to do?
In personal or business?
You choose, whatever you want to say.
I find it easy to, it's probably my biggest, I wouldn't say weak spot, but biggest liability is I have this innate ability to only see the good in people. And so anyone you stick in front of me, for whatever reason, I kind of shelve the bad parts, if there are bad parts, but if they're, typically everyone has bad parts and strengths and weaknesses. I typically tend to isolate that part of them, and only focus on the good and the positive, and then embrace it and let them run with it and run to it. And I think friends and even family, close family, has a really hard time, and actually business partners and executives sometimes struggle with me, because they get frustrated because I only see the positive and I only spin the positive out of that person. I was like, yeah, they did that, but they have so much potential and life in them to go do this for us. Let's empower them to do this and give them some chances. They may revert back or make a few missteps, but there's genius in there, and there just needs someone there. Like, let's believe in them. If we believe in them, it's going to go big. Now, granted, the bad parts of them could come out and end up getting us in the end, but I just believe if you believe strong enough in the good parts, then you see that people respond to that, and that will ultimately change their course in business and in life in general. So I guess that would probably be it just comes naturally to me. It's always been that way. It's also a muscle that I practice of, like, it's a fun way to look at the world when you see the good in people, and you look at someone and be like I always tell people too, is like when a customer or someone's upset at you or comes, it's like, just imagine they just lost their dog and their mom just passed away, or their mom's super sick and they have a sick kid at home and they have money issues right now and they're just stressed and they just need someone to be kind back to them. So assume that someone had something really bad happen to them, or they just had a rough go of it, and respond to them in kind and though that's happened. And it truly will change the world. It changes business too. And it's how we've been successful in business, is because we treat all customers and all clients. Obviously there's a line into it where we won't let, clients or customers be abusive to, verbally abusive or abusive to our staff or to you even as a person. But typically that's really rare when you get venom and you respond back with kindness, and compassion and understanding. It's very rare that you then get venom in return.
Right.
It just doesn't, unless the person's really just evil and bad. And at that point, you did your best and you move on and you compartmentalize that person. But you'd be amazed at how many people just need someone to say hi to them. How are you doing? How can I help? If I had a literally every time, and we do our concerts here, I'm definitely active because I love learning, and it's more of a learn mode because I'm technically pretty introverted when it comes to big events. And so, but I overcome that being introverted and become extroverted in the fact that I want to find out what attendees or customers think. And so I'll go out in the crowd and just random people stop by and say, hey, can I, hey, I'm Jeff. I own this place. I'm super excited you came and appreciative. What do you think so far? And they'll tell me. And I was like, great. I go, and they actually see me taking notes. I was like, all right, some of this is really good. I'm not saying we'll be able to do all of it, but I'm going to take it back to the team. I appreciate you taking the time. And then they'll come and see it, stuff being done. And they'll find me with the biggest amazement. And like, never in my life have I found the owner of a place, told them feedback, and then they actually went and met with their team and did it. Never. I'm like, how many times you're in a restaurant where like the manager comes up, how's this? Like, it's good, but there's 6 things that you're missing. Like I want to know those 6 things.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many people do actually want to know those to make changes. So, so anyways, that's the, I don't know where we started on that, Amani. You learned that very, okay, good. Yeah. Never go get drinks with me. We'll be there for 4 hours. Like, where did we start?
Well, you can follow that up by sharing, what would you like to be better at?
What would I like to be better at? Probably letting things breathe a little bit more. When I get vision or see something, I sometimes, my team knows about this, could be a little bit maniacal about making that happen, right? And so I get a little bit of tunnel vision, and I'm getting better at it as our team grows and gets bigger of stepping back and not letting that tunnel vision drive. But I get this vision in my head of what it's going to look like in the end and what the experience is going to be, and I just, bulldog that through the process. And I think I miss out on some good ideas from team members along the way. And you can even hear is like, well, Jeff had that idea, he's pretty stuck on it. We should probably just make that happen. Where I was like, no, that's not what I want to. That's not what I want to hear. I want to hear like, that seems like a good idea, but there's ways we can make it better. So I think I definitely need to work on that. And I am getting better. From where I started, from when we started Haute Companies to now, hopefully my team would say I'm getting better at that. But I still struggle with it. I still am passionate about, projects and what we can do and what that experience can be, that can be a little bit not healthy when it comes to the team feeling available to challenge it and to come with bigger, better, different ideas. So
cool. Now, when you were 21, you were at Arizona State, right?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go back and talk to 21-year-old Jeff, ask him for advice or give him advice based on what you know now. What advice would you give your younger self?
Patience and enjoy the ride. I know patience. I waited a long time before I cut the cord, so there was patience there. But just patience overall, like just let things happen. Enjoy the moments that are there, and don't rush through them to get to the next moment. I still struggle with that. I tell my current self that too. I actually have it. Amani, if you walk to my office, you'd see above the door where I leave every day. It says, "Enjoy the ride." Take time to enjoy the ride, because it's the fun is in the ride. When's the last time the journey and getting there is the excitement and the growth? Once you get there and you maintain, it's like this isn't as fun anymore. And I think that's the fun part is building it and engaging in the excitement. And then once you're there and you're like, well, what's next? Like we got to do something next. Like what's the next thing? And so instead of just trudging through the day and just trying to survive it and get through the long day, like I just got to get through these next 50 emails and I live to fight another day, is stopping to enjoy it and sit back. There was a time, like I said, I'm getting better at it. It's been an Achilles heel of mine my whole life of like, okay, I got to get to the next spot. Okay, what's the next spot? But during the music festival, I had my 13-year-old girl was there. And she had a bunch of her friends there. It was Sunday night, which was Snoop Dogg was the headliner.
Nice.
My PR agent came up and at the festival, and I hung back and just kind of hung out in the crowd and was obviously just in work mode and trying to fix things and learn. It was towards the end of the night. She came up. She goes, "Go get your daughter. You get one person only. You get to come up, and dance with Snoop, up on stage and go up there." I said, "Seriously?" And so I got to go to my 13-year-old daughter and said, "Hey, just one person, just me and you, we're going up on stage, with Snoop right now." And just to see the look in her eye and the let's do this. We're about to experience something. And then going up and just, in front of, 8,000 people, but just dancing and being up there and being in that moment and seeing knowing that was one of those peaks and valleys that I'll never forget, but especially she'll never, ever forget that for the rest of her life, was kind of that sit back moment of like, that felt good. Enjoy this for at least the next 10, 15 minutes before you go back to work, and go back to work. So I think that's hugely important to take those moments, those peaks, breathe, soak them in, enjoy them, and don't feel guilty about them. Don't make apologies. I tell people that story all the time. I'm like, I know we put on the festival, we put a lot of risk, but this is the part that I remember most about it. It's something that, right, wrong, or indifferent, it's something I'll remember the rest of my life. And I think it's doing more of a job of stopping, looking around, taking it in, of like, this is cool. We're building a cool company. We're building a company that believes in human engagement, human involvement, and embracing all people into society, into our events, and we feel like that can change the world just by that alone. That's pretty fun and pretty cool that we get to do every day. I think when you're in you're fighting it out, you're in finance meetings and with lawyers and in with tactical meetings and this and that, you just can get beat up and go home at the end of the day and just be like, what just happened? This is the dream I built. But you gotta look for those little pockets of sunshine, little pockets of goodness that the world will bring you. And don't let it go by you. Don't be like, oh, I'm busy, I'll come back to that. Stop, forget a half an hour of email and just go enjoy that moment and embrace it, and let people know you're a part of it, and then go back to what you were doing. So
all right.
That's
cool
the advice.
All right. We are really big readers here on the podcast. So if you were to pick 1, 2, or 3 books you feel people should stop what they're doing right now and start to read them immediately, what books come to mind?
Okay, you hit my Achilles heel because I'm a horrible reader. I'll read for 5 minutes, and then my head will lift up. My family makes fun of me anytime I'm on a beach vacation because they'll see me walk down to the beach with a book, and they all kind of chuckle. It's like, leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. I'll set up my beach chair, have my drink, be sitting there with my feet in the water. I'll get 5 pages in, and then they see my head look up, and they see me drift. They see ideas for me. They see me put the book down and grab a pad of paper, and then they see me for 3 hours sketching the next idea out or what. So I'm not going to be typical and give you one. I'm going to say, I'll give you a rule. How about this? I'll give you a rule that I have when I read books.
Okay.
I have a strict rule where I read 1 book for pleasure, and so admittedly, I love mystery novels or romantic novels or stuff like that. So I'll give myself the right to go read one of those from front to back, however long it takes me. I get through it, which usually about a month or 2, and then I switch to a business book.
Okay.
And so then I'll read a bit because I know it's important to read and expand. And so I'll go out and find what I feel like at that time is the best business book, and then I'll switch back. And so I think everyone's different, but for me, for someone who struggles to read just because my mind has a hard time shutting off to actually take the time, that's what gets through me. Like, I actually just finished a book, and I'll get to the name of it because it's not in front of me. I was going to bring it because I knew you were going to ask this question. But it's a book about chaos and how you use chaos to your advantage in the business world. Basically, that chaos that is all around you, which is the current situation we're in. If you fully embrace it and believe in it, you'll come out on the better end. So I'll send you a note so you can you know what that is. I don't know what will be good for this
okay.
video chat, but I'll let you know. But I'm excited to read it if that helps.
That helps. That helps.
But I don't think you should fight not reading. I think some things some people view it as like, oh, I'm not a reader. Like, I love to read and I love knowledge and I love taking it in. My brain just at this point in life doesn't allow me to read more than 5 or 6 books a year because it's just hard to stop it. And I feel like when your brain's telling you that you put it down and embrace where your brain takes you. So I would say that don't be ashamed if you're not a huge reader because I'm not.
Got it. Cool. Now, you a sports fan at all?
Yes. I was a huge sports player growing up. Played every sport around the country you can imagine. I struggle now once again to sit down and watch a full round of sports unless it's my kids playing. So yeah. So in a roundabout way, yes, I love sports and I love being there at a game, but you'll never find me sit down and watch 4 or 5 hours of sports over the weekend.
So say you have an event and you're going to be announced to appear at Doak Campbell Stadium. That's right there in Austin, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you're walking out to the field. What song is playing?
Mm. You know, it's going to sound corny, but I love We Are the Champions. So the movie Queen, it's one of my. I love like movies that and songs that where people push. I always call those people in the world that their light is burning so bright that you're like, oh, that's gonna be hard to keep burning for long. And and you hope that they do, right? And so I love going to concerts or events where that person it's just their time of their life, where they're just on fire and they're burning bright. Because I'm an energy guy and I love feeding off that. So I always say We Are the Champions because I felt like at the time, um, you know, Queen wrote that they were at their prime and they were at the top and they really felt that way. And so every time you hear that, you're like, you feel that energy. So that's probably what we played.
All right, love it. Tell everyone how they can find you online, website, all the things of how to reach you.
Yeah, so that's a sticking point with my staff. I'm somewhat hard to reach. Best way and the way I'm most communicative is on LinkedIn, believe it or not. So if you just look up Jeff Haynes, Haute Companies, you'll see me pop up on LinkedIn. Message me, reach out to me there. That's really the place. And I know I need to be more active on all the other social channels. It's a big initiative. But for the time being, that's probably the place where I live and in the business world. I'm also on Facebook and whatnot with friends, but in the business side of things, I think LinkedIn is probably the best way to communicate. So
wonderful. We'll put the links in the show notes. And before I ask you the final question, just want to say thanks for making time to appear on the show. It was great to meet you in person up in Santa Barbara, and I look forward to partnering with you in the future. I know we were working on stuff for South by Southwest, but it didn't happen. But I think something will happen in the future, so I'm excited about that. And thanks again for being on the show. We let our guests leave us with any last minute words of wisdom or advice, so you can share what you think. I'll say thank you and take us home.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. I enjoyed this, Amani. I enjoyed meeting you. And South by, we're going to go bigger and better next year. Want you involved in that, so that'll be exciting. We're already thinking about it. Parting words are just believe. That's how I leave everything. Believe in yourself. Believe in the world. Believe in your employees. If you believe and people sense that, you can make it happen, and amazing, great things will happen to you with that one belief. It's just I believe in yourself, believe in people, and you're good.
Cool. 1 second.